This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite teams' out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another shade of blue. The World Cup continues, but it will continue without the United States. We will get to that. Yes, so very sad day. We will get to it. I want to talk about Gregg Berhalter. A lot of discussion about him this week. But we do have Sporting Kansas City news this week.
We do.
So we're going to start off with that.
We're going to see a lot of it in the next couple of weeks, too.
Another, like Gregg Berhalter, I think it's another polarizing subject. I'm not sure how everybody feels about the Sporting KC news. They've brought back 3 veterans, Graham Zusi, Roger Espinoza, and Andreu Fontas. They're all 3 coming back.
So are you saying that Sporting won't be one of the youngest teams in MLS? Is that what you're saying? Unlike the U.S.?
Okay. It is not looking like
all right,
that.
making sure. Okay.
Chad has posed the question of if the off-season moves are done as a result of this. I guess we can get to those, get to that question as well. But Thad, tell us what are the terms of the agreements here? How are they being brought back? How long will they be back? I know we don't know how much money, but
yeah, no, I assume that all of them are on less money than they were before or equal.
Right, that's the key here, right?
Yeah,
we
definitely,
and we can't assume that. That's not being like naive or hopeful. It is they wouldn't be back unless that was the case, right?
I think so. I think that's the case.
Yeah.
Roger and Zusi are both on 1+1s, so they have a contract for next year and an option for the following year. And then Fontas has a contract for 2 years. Zusi and Espinoza are both 36. Fontas is 33.
Are they club options?
Yes.
It's always a club option, right? Everyone always says that, and I'm like, but whose option? Anyway.
I suppose they could turn it down. The player could. But
so that is getting up there for all of them.
The quote from McDowell's story in Star says, "These are not financially preventative contracts to what else Sporting would like to accomplish this offseason." So primarily finding a right center back and secondarily a young striker. So interesting.
Yes.
Implying Andreu Fontas is not the right center back.
Perhaps,
he
yes,
is,
perhaps.
He is very much a left center back.
Oh.
And it ends, Fontas' deal is also less expensive than his previous range. So they specifically mentioned Fontas' contract. So.
I don't know why I gave you the actual, but I should have given you like a bad joke sound. Like a womp, 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 womp.
Man, I was just being factual. I wasn't even going for the bad humor.
Okay, so 1 for 1 for Roger and Zusi. Is that fair? Should they have been brought back at all? David's not here to scream about either of them, but Thad, what do you think of this?
Actually, I'm quite okay with it. I mean, both of these guys are legends, in quotes, for the club. They both deserve to have their name up on the wall someday, et cetera, et cetera. I think that both of them can contribute. Zusi still has the wheels to run most of a game. Roger, we saw last year, looked way better when he played for 45 or 60 or came off the bench and didn't play every game, which I think a lot of us have potentially suggested over the last couple of years. And if PV has enough players in the midfield, bringing Roger off the bench to close out a game in the last 15 minutes, good.
Yeah, Roger for 15-minute spells at the end of a game. Hell yeah, I'm down for that.
You know we'll get way more than that.
Oh, yeah. So I'm trying to just bring that part into the universe. So,
So Cody, I mean, in your experience with this team, can you imagine a sporting team without Graham Zusi and Roger Espinoza? I mean, is that totally foreign to you?
It is. The majority of my sporting fandom has involved Zusi and Roger, and yeah, it would be very weird. It makes me feel old that we're at this point, but I get reminded of that in sports all the time.
Welcome to the club.
Well, they've been around since they were the Wizards. They've been around since the aughts, So yeah.
And I just want to remind people, Thad, you said Graham can still run for the majority of a game. Yeah. I'm still vividly remembering 1 or 2 plays last year where he just prided himself on like a tracking back run as a defender. He just filled the space, got there in time to cut off an angle for a guy. And I even remember one time like a fist bump or two, just because he like made the run and he got there and he was like, I'm old man and I still made it.
You like let off a pod with that, I think. Yes. You were like, did you see what Zusi did?
Yes.
He prided himself. And
that was great.
Guts.
That was a 36-year-old man saying, I'm still out here doing it.
Yeah, but only he knows how much his lungs were burning, how heavy his legs felt afterwards.
Enough to fist bump.
And I bet that was after one of the injuries too, where he's been off for a couple of games or a few games. So just coming back.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So Zusi can still do it. He can still get out there, and I think everyone, Peter Vermees included, would like to have other options and not have to lean on them entirely for the next 2 seasons.
Well, I do have to say, I've never seen Andreu Fontas do such a recovery run. Just saying.
No, he doesn't stray too far away from there for that reason, actually.
He got forward a lot last year.
Yeah, I guess he kind of did.
There was times he was in the box a couple times, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man?
He scored a goal.
He scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
2 goals?
Yeah, back-to-back games, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, we found the striker, man.
Give me Fontas's age again. Did you already
33,
say that?
I believe.
Yeah, see, he's fine. 2 years for Fontas, that's fine.
Well, I mean, we signed a friend of his, so do you really think we're going to let him go? I mean, isn't that part of getting this new guy acclimated, having his buddy there?
He's had such an up and down time here.
And he's also one of the most polarizing guys because people either hate him or love him. And I mean, I'm somewhere in between. I mean, I like the guy a lot. He's a super nice guy, and what he can do on the field, the passing and all that stuff is great. Is he sometimes a little bit lugubrious in getting back? Yes.
Wow.
Where'd you pull that one out of?
It's a word, man.
Okay.
Take your word for it.
Anyway, I'm never confident I pronounced it right. But
you did. We got too hung up on it. It would have been better if you just would have pushed through it. That's the normal word that I say.
Anyway,
I forgot what it was.
Lugubrious.
Schmuckatelli. Oh wait,
Cody's looking up that word right now. But no, he's good, man. In that he's the passing and all that stuff. And I've said all along, you can have a slow player as long as you have the guys around them to make up for some of that with a little speed. So we don't know what the new 6 will be, but and Logan out on one side, Kayden Pierre on the other side. As long as it's not Sweat and Zeus, we don't know hopefully there's another right center back that comes in and competes for that spot. It's because, it could be still Ford or Volodare. And so, that competition's there. So we'll just have to see.
In about an 18-month time span, Fontas went from an example of Peter Vermees not being able to sign free agents because he was so bad to being an MLS MVP candidate.
Defender of the Year candidate.
He was I don't remember who it was, but there was a pundit that was tracking he had some other way he was looking at it, and Fontas was on his list
like second
every
or third
single week. Yes,
at something. Yeah,
and
goals added.
So yes, there you go. Well, we can just say defender of the year. To then again being the butt of a joke, all in like 18 months. So he's gone back and forth. It's been a bit of a roller coaster with him, but the pedigree is still there for me. If he can stay healthy and if he's and it is all going right, then it can be great. So I'm here for this signing. 2 years of him, I don't know. I guess maybe it would be better if there was an option, but whatever.
Let's talk in 6 months.
I'm fine with it.
so
Yeah,
We'll see.
Because whatever side of the roller coaster, we won't know.
it could be a wild ride. Does this tell us for sure that Izzy is not back though? Because everybody said we don't want both center backs back. Does that mean Izzy's not back?
Well, I think the reason that we picked up Izzy in the reentry draft was simply to have his rights, just like we did with Felipe Gutierrez. If some other team signs him, we get something out of it.
Oh, that's
just a smart piece of business,
And there is no way that it's because they're trying to bring him back?
Oh, no, it is. But reading the tea leaves, come on.
They could bring him back still. They have the rights to him, so yes. But
well, as Chad's story also says, a good point to that is we don't have any international spots left. Izzy, does he have his green card?
Don't know.
Yeah, so I think if Izzy doesn't have his green card, he'd have to get it to come back that way. But, if he does have his green card, maybe we could bring him back.
Because MLS changed the rules on the green card where you have to have it before the roster date. I think it's the roster date. And I think they had actually a couple get green cards after that last year, but it didn't change their status because it couldn't. So I'm guessing it is there. So I'm guessing they do actually have a couple slots open still.
So we're not expecting another center back signing here. It's going to be...
I am.
Oh, you are? Okay.
According to McDowell's quote, sounds like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I just don't... they only have 3 center backs, right?
Right. Yep.
Bulliter.
And I'm just not entirely confident with Courtney Ford. I know he showed well in a few games. Okay, maybe it was 5 or 6, more than a few. But I'm just not convinced that he's the starter all season.
I'm just going to lean into saying Bulliter is going to take a big leap, and he's going to be our guy.
Yeah, but he's left center back. So does that mean Fontas is on the bench? That's mainly where Bulliter has played.
Is that how that works with defenders? I'm just going to be very vulnerable here and admit that I don't know this. Can they really not just switch between the right or the left
Some
center back
can.
spot?
Ideally, you want a left foot on the left and a right foot on the right. But
there's a whole lot of defenses that have 2 right-footed center backs just because left-footers are weird.
Right.
And rare, right?
Right.
Left.
That's the way for me.
Not as bad as redheads, but...
Beasler was that way.
Taking
He was left-footed.
So. But no, I think particularly when Fontas was bad, he actually played the right center back spot some of those games.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah. Because I think we were tracking that when he was getting game time before he had to basically shut down for a while. But yes, some center backs can play both spots. Some center backs can play anywhere in a 3-back line. So it really depends on the player, because that's always weirded me out. Like some outside backs will only play left, some will only play right, some will play both spots. It's just how comfortable they are with that and their ability to read that game in that spot.
Well, I think 2 of these re-signings, and Roger too, but Fontas fits the way we play. We know what we have in him. Zusi, same way. He can hit that switch ball. He can hit a nice cross. So they both really fit with how Vermees likes to play this 4-3-3. Again, Roger does fit that too, but those 2 especially as far as the skill sets they have.
Absolutely.
Is Zusi starting match day 1?
Yes.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? Yeah. Whatever, that's fine. Zusi leading the way.
I think Pierre will get plenty of time, and maybe by the end of the season, but Pierre's got a couple things he needs to work on, and he'll have Leagues Cup. He'll have Open Cup matches, so.
Sporting 2 games, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
And hopefully he just gets time off the bench too.
Right.
Yeah, regularly, right?
Yeah.
You don't want Zusi going 90 on a regular basis,
Oh, no.
and you have a very talented guy behind him, young kid behind him that you want to get on the field. So
and you want to irritate him just enough that he's not getting enough time, but not so much that he gives up hope.
Exactly.
And then, I could also see the situation being, if we want to be more attacking in some situation, then I could see them putting Kayden Pierre in there,
Change of
even
pace,
from the
yeah.
start. I mean, in a situation like that where they want to be free flowing and all of that, not right from the start of the season, but once Pierre has shown he's more capable. Because remember, just those bounding runs forward, he's like almost the best at that on the team. He can take it from the back third to the front third by himself. So,
and it's one of those things that if I was a coach, I would do differently than PV. I mean, we know PV, if you win a game, you probably start the next game, right? That's just the way it works for him. I would always look at the opposing team more. So if they're going to be a team that bunkers, then I put out a different lineup than a team that's going to be pressing us, and I want to counter them more, et cetera. So I look at it that way, but some coaches don't.
Well, and then that even gets more complicated, because when you're looking at breaking down a bunkering team, we talked about that the Graham Zusi switch, the patented switch across the field. That's like invaluable to there.
Yep.
But at the same time, he's not going to necessarily be as speedy and creative going forward. So yeah, that'll be tough.
That's when you need at least one speedy center back and maybe the other back. It's
right.
It's no one perfect way to play it.
All right. Any final thoughts on these three, or is there any other Sporting KC news updates? Anything else in this realm we need to discuss?
At least not that's come out yet.
The draft is in a couple weeks before Christmas. We've got 4 picks and higher picks than we used to have. So I don't know, maybe a trade there to open up one of those international slots could
and
be
it's
a
also
possibility.
just like a couple months away until the season is starting, right?
Exactly, end of February.
We're already getting there.
Yeah, when does training camp start, man? Mid-January?
I would think right
good Lord.
after New Year's would be my guess. But
So we're less than a month from pitchers and catchers reporting.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, MLS should do that. Like, okay,
what is it?
Goalies and forwards should start.
Keepers and backups. Keepers and the academy kids. That's what it is. That feels right. Keeper and academy.
And Sporting 2 guys, but they don't sign them till March.
Right.
So
Keepers and academies are reporting in less than 4 weeks. Okay, we're gonna take a very quick break, and then we will come back and talk World Cup and Berhalter and Qatar and the like. So we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool that helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements. Reboot your credit card with Apple Card, the credit card created by Apple. It gives you unlimited daily cash back that you can now choose to grow in a high-yield savings account that's built right into the Wallet app. Apply for Apple Card now in the Wallet app on iPhone and start growing your daily cash with savings today. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility requirements. Savings accounts provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC. Terms apply.
All right. The United States has been eliminated by the Netherlands. It was a very ugly game all around. I know it was a few days ago. We don't need to get hung up on all of that. But I did want to talk about Gregg Berhalter. Actually, you know what? Can we talk about the game very quickly?
You're the host, man.
Yeah, well,
sure we can.
Actually, him being the host doesn't mean we can't talk about it. We'll just take over at times and talk about stuff that he doesn't want to talk about. Wasn't on our plan. So
yeah, like that never happens, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the game. For me, it just comes down to, it almost feels dumb that we made ourselves believe, right? Seeing how thoroughly dominated they were, but I think it was all feasible. Like, the United States showed enough to put it in our heads that there was another gear for them to find. They went toe to toe with England. A bunch of individual players had shown promise. Gio Reyna had yet to be unleashed, right? It just seemed like it was feasible for them to do well. And at the same time, the Netherlands had not performed even close to that good up until that point. That first goal they scored My God, that was beautiful.
It was.
That was absolutely beautiful, and they had not shown anything remotely close to that.
And they would have scored that on almost any team in the tournament. So,
well, yeah, but then this is that you're leading me to the point of this game that I did want to talk about was that it was just 3 individual players and individual moments of lapses in judgment.
Yeah, because when you say that Netherlands was just way better, I don't think they were. It was those 3 moments that they were clearly class.
But they were the better team, right? I know what you're saying, and I know the U.S. could have won, but I still came away from that thinking, yeah, like the better team won today.
They were the better team in that regard. Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. But just in the gameplay, possession, passing, blah, 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 expected goals at halftime was in the U.S.'s favor. 4 minutes in or whatever, Pulisic could have put them ahead. There was another good chance somewhere like midway through the first half. Any of those changed that entire game to be completely different. You know, if the U.S. is leading 5 minutes in, does the Netherlands now open up a little bit more?
Well, and that's what I mean. That's that they showed us just enough to believe that they could have found that extra gear, that Pulisic had that other moment in him.
He could have sacrificed another little body part.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was just on the day they played their worst game of the tournament, and it was just one of those things. The stars didn't align. We kind of needed them to some extent. And yeah, it was really disappointing in that regard, but I'm still obviously very optimistic going forward.
Well, let's go back. Okay, you mentioned that we had a number of chances, but besides the Pulisic chance early in the match, all of our chances were like half chances. They weren't, I mean, the half volley that Weah hit, great hit, right at the keeper, of course, but nothing that we really created that was like what the Netherlands created with ball movement, with their ability on the ball. They were all half chances, more or less. Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think a couple of those, like, they should have been full, like Haji Wright. That was like a half chance around the goalie. But
on that one, yeah.
Anyone who was not playing horribly and just, a decent player, just, that would have and could have been a goal there. But yeah, I know what you mean. The chances were obviously higher quality for them.
Right.
And yeah, just literally all 3 goals, you can pinpoint one specific player that did not do what they needed to do in that moment. And that's just, they're a young team. They spent a lot to get to this point. And, that's just, it's a symbol of that. Like, that the last touch that we couldn't have to find the goals throughout the tournament, a sign of the young team, the momentary lapses in judgment after playing 4 games in a short time period. That it's just all to be expected almost, but they did make us believe that they were going to get beyond it. There was just enough from all of them that was like, dude, this is there. This game is there for them.
I mean, going against a side that was allowing us to have the ball and daring us to break them down when they have a Liverpool, Man City center back, etc. Their back lines, high class. I mean, what are the odds that we're going to win that game?
Yeah, you brought up the coaching. It was the tactical plan of letting the U.S. have the ball, which they've clearly not done well with, and they don't have the final touch. It was just masterclass from Louis Van Gaal. It
ran
really
into
was.
Zoran Savic at Best Buy, sporting assistant coach, and that's what he talked about. He said, this week got outcoached. It was a very smart plan by the Netherlands coach, and that was the game.
Isn't that typically how they play, though? I mean, it wasn't really different for the U.S.
How
the Netherlands plays.
How the Netherlands plays.
They tend to sit back and they tend to, do the same thing they do. So it's not like a difference in how they played the U.S. It's just that they did their style better than the U.S. did their style.
And that quote was going around from Van Gaal talking about that they didn't adjust and all of that.
Yeah.
And that was being used among
which I do think is true.
Yeah, and it is. And it's being used among all of the Berhalter haters as just, again, look how terrible this is. But I don't think it means you're a terrible coach and you never should have been hired if you got out-coached by Louis Van Gaal. I don't think there's any. I'm not necessarily a Gregg Berhalter hater for saying like between the two coaches, like one very clearly spanked the other one on this game.
And I agree. Because you're saying like people are saying Berhalter should never have been hired, and we can go through all that history, but we don't really want to spend all that time. But there was a lot of questions about why he was hired, when he was hired, why he didn't show up, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it still come down to he managed a really young team through winning a Gold Cup, winning a Nations League Cup, going through qualifying, and being the only CONCACAF team to advance out of the group stage.
Being in the hardest group in many ways, too.
Yeah.
Highest FIFA ranking, if you give me that credence. But.
People won't say it's the group of death, but it really kind of was. So give him his dues in that regard. Now, is he the guy to maybe take him to the next level? That's a really debatable question there.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's why this is just such an interesting discussion about Gregg Berhalter right now, and it takes level heads to actually talk about it, because he did do a bunch of things wrong. The way he was hired was probably not the best,
which wasn't his fault.
We lost to Costa Rica in the last game of World Cup qualifying, kind of limped in there in that regard, got out coached in this last game. But at the same time, it's like he did do every minimal thing that we needed the team to do in this 4-year cycle. They won a couple tournaments. They made it to the World Cup, which sadly was one goal. They got out of a difficult group. Whether what people call it a group of death or not, it was a difficult group. They got out of it. And then, they got spanked by a pretty good team in the knockout rounds. But you, Thad, said the key there earlier is that he never elevated the team in any way. Is he the guy that brings the team to the next step? And no, that was never the case once. Did I feel like, we're outperforming how good we are? It's if we beat Mexico, you know what? We should be beating Mexico at this point.
Yeah, well, and I want to be clear that I'm not saying he didn't elevate the team. I don't know that he's the guy to elevate them further.
Right.
Because he did take a very young team and managed through, we never had the whole midfield on the, through all of qualifying. It seemed like, he had important midfielders screwing up and going out partying during COVID era and all these stupid things, right? So he managed through that and got lots and lots of guys experience between the two big tournaments and through qualifying, and then made bold decisions to pull in guys who hadn't been in the team for a year. Tim Ream. I know there was somebody else. And anyway, he pulled these guys in and they qualified. They got through the group stage and they got beat by a better team. 8th ranked team in the world. US was 16th ranked in the world. I know FIFA rankings are a little wonky, but you expect to lose to them, and it only looks worse because it was the score.
The score is not because of Gregg Berhalter. It's because, like we've said, 3 individual players on 3 individual plays just stopped playing. They forgot what they were doing.
You can argue that perhaps he needed to get them more rest, more rotation.
Right.
But obviously, when we saw subs come in, they didn't elevate the game for the most part either. So
and my argument there is, again, the goal was to get out of the group. They spent it all to get out of the group. You can look back now and be like, we should have subbed McKennie out in 30 minutes every game or something like that. But it's no. The goal was to get out of the group. They got out of the group, and they were tired from doing it. And now the next step after these young guys have done it in 4 years, now I think we have a different goal.
Right.
So I think part of what we just were talking about is part of the issue. Were his choices the choices that we needed to have in the midfield? Was the midfield deep enough to where when we took off McKennie, when we took off Musa, or, we didn't take off Adams at all, I don't think, but was the drop-off too far? Did he choose the right guys so we could still play our game without that drop-off? Well, that's a debate.
I would say it's not even about choosing the right guys, but I would say of our player pool, I think we saw that the drop-off from the first 11 to the next group is pretty significant, and I think that's what needs to develop over the next 4 years, obviously.
And the whole Pepe issue, should he have brought Pepe? I mean,
that's probably the biggest thing I will criticize him for is the choice of center forwards. But as far as you're saying is the next level of player that comes off the bench, going to keep it at the right level. I mean, Aronson was pretty close, but he's just a different kind of guy. He's a runaround.
And Reyna too.
And, annoy the hell out of everybody. Reyna, I think, everybody complained why he wasn't on, but quite honestly, when he was on, majority of what he did was nothing.
Yeah,
did some good things.
And you can argue that had he should have been playing more and he would have been more in tune.
The thing we don't really know is, was he really fit? And because he played his first full game for Dortmund the game before they left for the World Cup.
Right.
And I don't remember how taxing that was. So he's been so injury prone, it's almost like you're babying him at sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think there's criticism there, but I think there's always that stuff that we don't quite know what went on behind the scenes. Was he really injured? Was he really fit? Even though he says he is, we see that with Sporting all the time. A player says, yeah, I'm ready to go anytime coach wants me. But their sports science guys back there going, nope, he can only play 15 minutes.
Well, Jimmy Conrad had a quote, which I agree with, that the players need to hear a new voice every 4 years. Yeah. 4 years is a long time. And, to bring them to that different level, to give them different perspectives, different ideas. And I agree with that. I don't know who that coach is. I have no clue who it should be.
It's one cycle for a World Cup coach. Right. That's where I'm at. Almost every time. And exactly like you said, a voice, or it's just something gets stale, or you just need something needs to be refreshed there every 4 years, in my opinion.
But what kills me, though, is a lot of fans out there throw out, they need to have a foreign coach, not an MLS coach, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I agree with that, because the American player is a different breed. He needs to be treated differently. You need to know the domestic league. And, another thing, a lot of people are saying, the only players who are good on this team are the guys who are playing in Europe. Yeah, but where did they come from? They came from the academies in MLS. They came from MLS teams, most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. So I don't know if a foreign coach is the answer here. What do you guys think?
Jesse Marsch is the man. Like, he should be the one. He should be. But I honestly don't see him giving up his job in the next year to come do that.
Well, you got people throwing out Tata Martino, and I'm like, yeah.
And no, Tata Martino's one, and then Roberto Martinez is another. And I
no, please.
I used to love the idea of Roberto Martinez, and I think he's just proven to not have the touch that we maybe thought he once did. And I'm worried about that one. I honestly, I think that they've been grooming us to be prepared for Roberto Martinez for a while now. He's been on television here. He's been a pundit.
Geez.
I think that he's going to be a front runner here, and I'm kind of nervous about that.
Go for Japan's
And Tata
coach.
Martino, are you kidding me? After what he's done the last 4 years,
no kidding.
Oh my God, why would anyone? How could that even be considered?
I think we actually bribed Mexico to hire him.
Yeah, we were that exchange was very good on our end for 4 years of him. That was just an absolutely terrible tenure.
Yeah, maybe they can send him to Canada next.
And they're not, man, Mexico, there's no reason to think Mexico is going to be improving.
Okay, how about this? The Netherlands coach as the U.S. coach.
Louis?
Somebody like him.
How long has he been? I think they said it was like his 10th year with that team. Is that right? No, that can't be right.
No, because he coached elsewhere. He went back to it.
But wasn't that the last World Cup where he did the sub? He brought in Tim Krul off the bench in the PKs. That was the last World Cup. No, or maybe that wasn't even a World Cup. So yeah, I don't know. He's been there for more than one cycle. I mean,
2014, because there wasn't one in 2018, was there?
How great would that be if? No, not officially. I don't think. How great would that be if we could get Louis Van Gaal? That'd be amazing. I also heard the idea of Gareth Southgate is probably going to be available.
No.
No? We don't need a Brit teaching us how to play anymore.
No, that's just too cliche.
It is.
They
can tell us about the game we're watching. They don't need to tell us how to play anymore.
Okay, so the Iranian coach, Carlos
Queiroz.
I don't think that's the right way to pronounce it, but you know who I mean.
Close enough.
Queiroz, I think is what.
Is that how you say it? Okay.
I could be wrong, and I apologize. He's the one that set up like the plan to help build U.S. soccer. So he's a knowledgeable guy, and I loved his halftime speech.
Yeah. And he had his team perform decently.
Actually, that's Saudi Arabia. Sorry. But the Japanese coach, I know they got bombed out today. Nah.
I understand what happened in that third game, but going into that game, I thought I was really disappointed in specifically the Japanese coach because of what he did against Costa Rica. They lost to Costa Rica. Don't forget about that. And I thought he was just like a boring defensive coach. But then again, at the same time, that's what a lot of people think the U.S. needs to go back to is a defensively organized.
Oh, you want Bora Mitrovic back, do you? But okay, all right. So yes, 2026 we're hosting. Okay, the expectations for this young team, the maturity that they get in those 4 years' time, expectations are going to be high. Should they be? What's the expectation we're looking at? And, what are we looking at? Are we looking at quarterfinals? Is that the expectation? Semifinals? Final? What are we thinking?
Well, that's impossible. You can't do that right now. It is literally 4 years away, and we don't know what the team looks like. But, yeah, I mean, just broadly speaking, like I said earlier, I think the goals going in are going to be far different than hopefully we can survive the group stage.
Now, I'm just throwing out these things for discussion purposes, but you look at the Netherlands team, their physical build. Sometimes it looked like boys against men. I mean, Tyler Adams against some of their players, it's like, whoa, look at the difference there.
Yeah.
And then the finesse that these players have compared to ours, everybody's saying, oh, the U.S., they should make it to the quarterfinal, they should make it to the semifinal. We're the U.S. after all. Is that true, though? Is that reality against these?
To be fair, their keeper was the largest person in the
6'8",
tournament.
yeah.
I kept saying he was like 7'14".
And Virgil van Dijk.
But I mean, think about it. I mean, this is going back 20 years. The only time in the modern era that the U.S. got to the quarterfinals, we squeaked out of the group stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if results had gone differently, we wouldn't have gone. And then we got Mexico, which, yes, is a team that we had. We had that game won before we even played them because Mexico feared us. So that's the only time we've ever gotten the quarterfinals in the modern era. Is that really the expectation for U.S.? Is that reality?
I think in 4 years it is fair to hope that we could be a top 8 team in the world.
Yeah.
But is that reality?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
In 4 years from now, yeah, based on what we saw here as we were a top 16 team, and they're a bunch of babies that are going to be 4 years older and better. So, yeah,
okay, aren't other teams going to be better too?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Well, older teams will not necessarily be better because they will be.
Portugal won't have Ronaldo in 4 years.
Yeah. I know.
Okay, so they'll be better.
The traditional countries. I mean, there's a reason only, 4 countries have won a World Cup? There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
8.
Yeah.
8 countries have won a World Cup.
Is it 8? Really?
But it's only
that many?
But it's only 7. Uruguay won in like the 30s, so it's only 7 since.
Okay.
Since then.
I didn't think it was that many, but still, that's a
not
small.
very many.
No,
I
it's
cite
not.
that all the time as like people who think
there's a reason
the U.S. need to win the World Cup. It's like only 8 countries have done it.
Okay, so the reason they'll be better is majority of the team was young, so they'll be more experienced. We still have a lot of youth that isn't there yet, but it will be eligible and coming out for that next cycle.
Okay.
I know you can say that about other teams, but because they're young, if you have an older team, you tend to not replace as many guys, right? Or you tend to have to replace a lot of guys with younger guys. When you have a young team, you tend to only supplement where they're better. So they're going to grow. Right.
You could say the same thing about the 2002 team. Had a lot of youth, a lot of Donovan, Beasley, etc.
Okay, but you're also not talking about hundreds of young guys at European clubs.
Oh, realize I'm throwing these ideas out for conversation.
And there were no MLS academies.
Right.
There were no USL academies.
Right.
I mean, every other team that plays in minor leagues now has an academy.
Right.
These are all kids that are growing and getting much better coaching than they did in 2000.
And we had a Landon Donovan who tried Europe and then came home and didn't work there. Now we've got many players that are going over Europe and succeeding.
Yeah, and looking good. And you have guys in second divisions all over Europe right now. Trying to keep track of them is impossible.
Right.
And you're going to have more of them in the next 4 years. And you have 30, or you'll have 30 MLS teams with 30 academies. All of them trying to produce players for their own benefit, which will help the national team for the most part. But another big factor is they will be playing in the United States.
Right.
So not every home country gets that benefit because some are just too terrible, like the oppressive regime of Qatar. But that's going to be a boon for the U.S. when they're playing here. Big crowds, playing for their home country, in their homeland. I think that'll make a big difference. And I want to go back to something else you said earlier. Big guy Netherlands pushing off little guys on the U.S. team. We have who we have. We can't just make them grow. Okay. I saw somebody saying, "Oh, Pulisic needs to put on 20 pounds of muscle." He wouldn't be Pulisic at that point.
Right.
Okay. That's just like Louis. If you put 20 pounds of muscle on him, he slows down.
Okay, well, I was saying that on Louis when he was still a baby and he could have just done that. Pulisic is what Pulisic is.
Right.
Brendan Aronson, put some muscle on that.
Right.
That. That's a little boy running around out there. Put some muscle on that kid.
Now, here's another
Probably
point
not 20 pounds.
that
Not
people
20
have brought
pounds.
up. The U.S. is only going to get better if they play these top-tier teams more often. What do you guys
There's a
think
problem.
of
That's a problem
that? Yeah.
because we won't be going through qualifying. And if we were, it wouldn't be a lot of top
No,
tier
we're
teams.
gonna get invited to the Copa America though in 24. Watch.
I think you're right. And then there'll also be a Confederations Cup if they still host that. Did they do that last year?
Confederate? No, I don't know. It was World Cup qualifying. Too much of that, I think.
Yeah, because of COVID. So I don't know if they'll do Confederations Cup, but they should get invited to that if they do it.
Oh, we had the Nations League in Qatar was invited, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could see they'll do everything they can to get as much of it in.
They need to.
A final touch on the problematic, corrupt Qatar World Cup. So far, I think the incidents have slowed down unless I'm just not hearing about them. I haven't heard of any major incidents or anything like that, so I guess that is good. My question, though, is has this World Cup brought some of their issues in this country to the forefront on an international stage? Or is that just what everyone is justifying their watching of this World Cup by saying?
You're looking at me, Cody.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're a moral guide.
Oh, man, you're screwed. Almost said something else. My opinion is they are completely acting in the fashion to minimize bad publicity right now. And then by next year, they will probably... because I believe they have okay, you can wear a rainbow shirt or you can do this or you can do that, right?
I don't know.
I did not on the beer part.
Begrudgingly, it seems like they did allow it.
Yeah. I've seen that they've allowed at least some of it.
With some security guards maybe overacting when
Right.
they
There
shouldn't
you go.
have,
Yeah.
et cetera.
But that doesn't mean a damn thing, okay?
No.
Letting people wear a rainbow shirt in there, I mean, it's not like anybody is seeing it, right? It's not changing the life of the non-ruling class of Qatar.
But are they, what their goal is the sports washing? Do we see them as a more acceptable regime after this? No, I think it's gone the opposite. And that's kind of the point that I'm making here.
I think a lot of people don't pay as much attention, though. I mean, I know you and I sometimes disagree on politics, but we're both very active in reading about it, and we agree on a lot of things.
Right.
And it's these things that will... I think a lot of people just see it. Oh, hey, that wasn't so bad. We didn't hear about anybody getting murdered in the street or their head chopped off for being gay.
Yeah.
Not today, but maybe next year.
Yeah, that's valid. But I
hope I'm wrong. I hope it makes change.
I do think plenty of people are in the boat that I am of, their goal in doing this was to say, forget about everything else. We can do these cool things. We can put on sports, and that's kind of their goal here. And for me, I think it just showed a lot of people a lot of the atrocities, and it just shined a light on, honestly, what they were doing.
Well, I really wish the broadcasters would talk about it more. I know they can't, perhaps, but, it's always like, oh, the stadiums are beautiful. Oh, the atmosphere is so wonderful. Oh, the streets are clean.
Well, a lot of the corrupt process of awarding this World Cup, there's been a lot of questions about the awarding of the rights as well. On the Meadowlark Media, the former president of ESPN said that he felt that in them bidding, he was like, I'll pay you whatever the highest offer is, I'll pay you more than that. And they never even came back to him with another offer. It was just Fox is getting it. And they awarded it for 2 World Cups in a row.
Fox got it this time for some reason, though. It was basically grandfathered in. It wasn't negotiated bidded for.
And but that's unusual. I think that's highly unusual.
But there was a semi-legitimate reason for that, and I'm just totally blanking on that right now.
I still see. I think there's enough of a link for me to think that these broadcasters are embedded enough that they're told to not say anything critical, because I've not heard one single thing.
I'm sure they're told not to say anything critical because for two reasons. Like, one, they don't want to get arrested at the airport on the way out,
right?
Which I don't think would happen, because I think they're all big enough celebrities and stuff like that. But two, it would not do good for the broadcast. Like, I mean, okay, Fox wants everybody to watch the next game. So here at 9:00, I'm not going to say, oh yes, we're here in the corrupt regime of Qatar.
Right.
That's up to us, because if they say that, then maybe people don't tune into the 1:00 game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's their own self-interest, and I don't blame them, but at the same time I do.
Okay, we can wrap up here, but man, how about Brazil today? Did you guys watch that game?
It was
just vintage Brazil.
It was against a poor overmatched team, though.
I know, but it was fun. It was just fun watching soccer.
I will watch it when I go home.
We're not supposed to tell him what happens.
Oh, he already knows.
Oh, okay.
I told him earlier.
No, yeah, that's fine.
All right, boys.
The U.S. games I care about as far as that.
Any final thoughts?
Go U.S.? Oh, wait.
Oh, that was really sad.
Hey, Women's World Cup next summer. That's going to be fun.
Less than 2 years.
Not sure the U.S. is going to win this one, though.
But
talk about that later.
Hey, more competitive Women's World Cup. I'm here for that.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, in the same thing with on the women's side, where it's become more competitive because more countries are catching up, if you want to say. It's also the same on the men's side, as more countries are getting better and will have their moments, their golden generations. And
48 teams in 2026.
Yep.
Yeah, and that game today, I think, is a sign that might be too many teams. That might be too many teams
exactly,
in the group stage.
I agree.
I don't know. We'll see there.
It'll be fun to watch, though.
It might even be lugubrious.
Don't seem so tough. And 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Some pointer strong and ball gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.